On Two Wheels this week, Jeff takes a ride on Triumph's latest 955i. Sara Dee travels to Essex to meet some bikers in the forest. We go behind the scenes with British Superbike. Wayne talks about kids' gear, and Gary's Blackbird finally hits the road.
We've often featured Triumphs on two wheels, but it's nearly 5 years since I first tested the T595 Daytona. It's been through some changes over the years, but now it's been completely revised, and this is the latest Daytona, the 955i. So what's new? Lots. For a start, it's 10 kilos lighter. It's got a shorter wheelbase and it's got an extra 15 brake horsepower. But what hasn't changed, I'm pleased to say, is that unmistakable Triumph triple howl. It's not an external upset the public exhaust noise. Oh no, this is your private sound system generated by that airbox up under the tank. Wind it up to anywhere between 7,000 and 8,000 revs and here it go. If you're into engines, you'll love this one. It really is addictive. As you can tell, I like Triumph's triple a lot, especially that engine. But what else have they actually done to the bike? Let's have a look-see down here. First thing you'll notice is the old single-sided swinging arm has gone to be replaced by this, a more conventional twin-armed one. Fabricated aluminium job, but the big thing is it's saved a hell of a lot of weight, 2.5 kilos. So that is a lot of weight, a lot of unsprung weight. So that's why they've done that. Coming up to the frame here, this looks very, very familiar, doesn't it? Always with this twin tube thing, makes it very, very distinctive. They've changed it and modified it over the years. They've trimmed a little bit of weight off it, but basically that's the same. The engine, which unfortunately you can't see under all these cases, that's nevertheless had a lot of attention to it. The cylinder head is brand new. They've changed the valve angle in it. They've thinned down the cases a lot to save a lot of weight. 2.5 kilos on the engine as a whole. And it's a big meaty engine now as well. 149 brake horsepower at the crank. That's a lot. Coming back to the frame, the head angle, which you can't really see any difference here, but I can tell you it's much steeper than it used to be. In fact, it's now steeper than the Fireblade, a ZX9R, or an Aprilia, the RSV. And I was expecting something really twitchy, but it's not. Something else, if you can get a sort of an overall view of it, they've actually shortened the wheelbase. Again, it's very difficult for you to tell looking at the bike like that, but they have shortened it by 25mm, which is an inch. And again, it brings it into that same ballpark as the Aprilia RSVR and also the ZX9. The blade is still a little bit shorter, but basically they're all battling in that same ring. So what else is new? This fairing, for one thing. Not only is it a brand new design with this big lens here, still twin headlights behind it, but as you can see, very distinctive, nothing like any of the other bikes, but the fairing itself is actually slimmer, saving a bit more weight. Down here, front wheel is now from the TT600. Again, that is saving a lot of weight. The rest of it they've retained, the big 320mm discs and Triumph's 4 pots. I know 6 pots are fashionable, but their Triumph stoppers really do work. Those front forks are unchanged, not upside down, they're conventional, but I really like that look. They really do look big and chunky, and again, very Triumph-like. What else have they done? The back tyre, they've actually slimmed that down, would you believe? Used to be a 190 on the old one, it's now a 1AC. That's to improve handling, and I suppose it does save a little bit more weight. So it not only looks different, with that weight saving, it actually feels different. It's retained that solid planted feel it always had, but it now feels much more nimble and responsive with it. With fairly radical steering geometry, I thought it might be twitchy, but it's not. It turns nicely, not in a flip-flop flickable way like a GSX-R 1000, but planted like a 996 Ducati. It's a bike that needs you to have an input which is good. You're controlling it, not the bike controlling you. The engine complements it perfectly. Pushing out 136 brake horsepower at the back wheel, it's got more oomph than a Blade or a ZX9, but there's nothing hairy about it. It delivers its peak power at 10,700 revs and it'll run to 167 miles an hour, but it doesn't run away with you. This is real world stuff. And as if to prove its real world credentials, it's got a nice little digital display in here. Look, I shall demonstrate. Nothing fantastic, of course, but it has got a digital display. Big white face clock, rev counter, of course, there. But this digital one is pretty neat, nothing exceptional, but nevertheless, you've got a select button there, which gives you several choices of trip. Then we've got total miles, 1 trip, 2 trip, and also the time down there. All useful stuff, temperature gauge in there, and you've got your idiot lights up the top. But see how small that is? They actually reckon that saved another 2 kilos on the old instrument panel. The rest of it is pretty conventional. The mirrors here, they're quite good. You see a bit of your elbows, as usual with these things, but they're not too bad. You know, you can see a fair bit behind you. Looking down on the headstock here, you've got fully adjustable front forks, preload, compression damping and rebound. Rest of the control, no hydraulic clutch on this one, cable operated. And that's it really, conventional switchgear. Plastic tank. Triumphs have always stuck with a plastic tank. I'm very keen on magnetic tank bags, so that's no good for me, I'm afraid. But it does the job, and again, it saves some weight. No doubt about it, for me, this really is a bike that's different. Its star feature is that 3-cylinder engine. It mixes the smoothness of a 4 with the hard edge of a twin. But having said that, the whole bike feels more measured and self-assured than its competitors. It's very British, I suppose. The Daytona isn't exceptional in any particular department, just very good in all of them. You get a well-rounded performance, it handles well, the suspension is supple, and well, it just feels right. I have to be honest and say I didn't think there was very much wrong with the old model, so needless to say, I think this one's well and truly up with the competition. It comes in blue or silver and will cost you £8,949, and that's well up with the competition too.
We're standing on a really high ridge just west of a 6,000 acre forest. Now the ridge itself is called High Beech, as in the sandy variety, and the forest that it overlooks is Epping Forest in Essex, right on London's doorstep. Now, as you can imagine, there's lots of wildlife here, including nightingales, but we're really lucky because I think I've just spotted a whole group of leather-clad bikers. I've been told to speak to Jerry and ask him about peanuts. What's peanuts got to do with anything?
Oh, it's a joke actually.
Is it?
Amongst
Friends?
our friends, yeah.
Yeah, and you're not going to answer that?
Not really, no.
No. So it's not a pet dog or anything?
No, it's not, no.
No?
No, it's not, no. Ask me something else.
Do you live near Epping?
No, I don't, no.
You
I
don't?
live, no.
So how far have you travelled to get here?
Well, it must be about 25 miles.
So where have you come from?
Billericay.
Billericay? What are the roads like between here and there?
Not very good.
No. So what brings
Slippery.
you here? What brings you here?
Well, we were going up to Rockingham for the race meeting, but wet, so we just thought we'd have a run out. If it rains, we can get back home.
Did you ride pillion today or come on your own
ride my
bike?
bike.
Excellent. What bike is it?
It's in CBR 600 Sport.
That's good.
Yeah.
Hey, girls on bikes, that's what we like to see. And how long have you been riding bikes?
I've actually had a full licence 12 years, so but I've actually been on bikes since I was 16.
God, that's great.
Yeah.
Do you go to lots of biker meeting places, or is this the one that you tend to
No,
go to?
go all over the place. Yeah, down as far as like Exeter and up as far as like, I don't know, Malvern Hills.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you obviously like good ride.
Yeah.
This is Amy. Hi Amy, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much for asking. Not many people ask me.
That's all right.
This is well, we've come here to look at the bikers and the biker meeting places. Why do you come here?
Because I always come here with my dad, because
Right.
he usually comes up in his motorbike, but my mum won't let me come on his motorbike, so I have to come in the car.
Why won't she let you come in the motor? She thinks it's too dangerous. So would you like to get a bike one day?
Yes, I will. I don't care what my mum says, I am getting a bike.
And what type of bike do you want?
A fast one, preferably.
A sports bike?
Yeah, definitely.
And do you think you'll go out on track and race, or do you think you'll just use it for transport?
I
or
just
what?
use it for transport. Just fun.
Yeah. Have you got any leathers yet, or aren't you allowed those either?
No, my dad said he'd buy me some for Christmas though. Didn't you, Dad?
Right, now this has been recorded, Dad, right? So you're going to get some leathers for Christmas, aren't you?
I will. I will.
And we will be back with the Epping Forest bikers later in the show.
Well, this is the racing paddock at Oulton Park, and it's not for a truck race. This is for a round of British Superbikes. We're here on a Friday for a practice day, and I want to have a word with Ian Simpson, who is managing the Dienza Ducati Superbike team. So Ian, is this your home for the weekend, all these nice red trucks?
Yeah, it is really. We get here on a Thursday morning for Friday practice, Saturday qualifying, racing Sunday, finishing Sunday night, pack up and go home. So it's a week's work really.
Because what's set up here is actually a sort of a village, isn't it? You come here and there's all the different colours, all the different canvases and God knows what else. And I guess some people must actually come here on the Wednesday, do they?
Yeah, that's right. Some people are here to set up on a Wednesday to get their allocated place in the paddock.
We're here on a Friday a practice day, so what do you actually, is the day formed?
We have 2 40-minute sessions today to try and get a good setup for the racing on Sunday. So what we're trying today, we're trying to pick the best tyres to use, because there's a vast selection of different compounds and different widths of wheels and different tyres to use. So we have to try and narrow it down today and get a good idea of the tyres we're going to use. We're also getting a good setup for brakes and gearing and suspension. So we're trying all that today, and basically we should have a good idea of what we're going to use tomorrow for qualifying and Sunday for the race by the end of today.
You were saying you have 2 sessions and you've already had 1 session this morning, and because we should point out you're just running the one rider, Paul Brown, aren't you? But you've got 2 bikes?
Yeah, we have 2 identical 996 Ducati Superbikes. So basically what we tried this morning, one was a bit different in suspension to the other one, and he tries them both and decides which one he likes best, and that gives us a good idea of what direction we want to go with the front forks and the rear shocker. So he's quite happy with one of the bikes this morning. He was going pretty quick in it. So
he doesn't have a favourite bike for the season, a number 1. It's almost a number 1 at that circuit on that day, is it?
Yeah, it is really. Yeah, the 2 bikes are very identical. The engines are rebuilt every 500 kilometres, so we're swapping bits off one bike to the other all the time. So the idea, it's a good idea to get both bikes as identical as he can in case he crashes one and in case one breaks down, so he can jump on the other one and be quite happy with it. So he is happy with both bikes.
So what sort of things did you learn this morning? I see you taking brake calipers off. Are you actually changing the brakes?
Yeah, we're sponsored by AP Brakes, and they gave us some new discs to try this morning, so they were slightly different, and we're trying them to see if they were any better than the stuff we usually use.
And the rest of the stuff is the standard, it's suspension, as you were saying, tyres and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And then do you just get the 1 more session this afternoon, and that's...
Yeah, we've got 1 more 40-minute session this afternoon, so we could do with a lot more track time than that. It's not...
everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah, everyone's in the same boat, but it is good to come to the circuit before the actual meeting starts to get a test day in if you can.
Ian, one thing that has surprised me here, there doesn't seem to be many of you. I know on a race day, the place is swarming with people. So is this it? Is this the core?
Yeah, this is basically the core of the team you see here today. There's 4 of us and Paul the rider, so there's 5 of us all together, including the rider.
Yeah.
Our busiest days are like set-up day today and yesterday, tomorrow. Actually, when it comes to Sunday, the race day, most of our work's done really, and it's just down to the rider. There's not much work to do to the bikes on race day.
So who are all the other people milling around in the garage?
Well,
they're not hangers on, are they? Surely not.
Well, that's debatable. There's Bill Simpson, who's my father. He's in charge of suspension and setting the bike up and getting the best race set up. There's Mark Hanna, who's the chief technician, who looks after all the bikes, and he's basically in charge of the spanners and anything that gets touched on the bikes. And there's Keith Houston, who's in charge of, he does all the tyres and the running about, that sort of stuff. So, and then there's myself and Paul Brown, the rider.
Yeah, so you just run tight and neat.
Yeah, that's right. There's enough to keep all those boys going flat out for the 2 or 3 days.
Well, as you can see, it's a really busy day today. Not only British Superbikes, but the 250s are out now, so a lot of noise and commotion, but it's a really important day for setting the bikes up. But I'll tell you what else, it's very important for the team manager. And the team manager of Dienza is Enzo De Clemente. And I'm going to go and catch him after the break.
Hello, I'm Jeff Thompson from the Rossborough Advanced Motorcycle Group in Manchester. Slow, look, lean and roll. These are the tactics which enable you to take the tightest of corners quickly and smoothly. Let me explain. On the approach to a corner, you need to get your speed down to that which you know you can get round the bend. This is best done on approach using the brakes whilst the bike is upright and travelling in a straight line. This enables you to use maximum effect braking to get your speed off quickly and gives you maximum stability. However, you need to have finished braking before you start the turn. So in the slow phase, that's done before the corner. And on this particular bend, slowing should be completed roughly where I'm stood now. Once we've got the slow phase out of the way and we've selected a gear which is appropriate for our speed, we go into the next part of the slow, look, lean and roll, and that's look. From here, we look where we want to end up, right over there on the output of the corner. So we swivel our head round at this point and point our nose at where we want to go. And funnily enough, on a motorcycle, you go where you look. So we will end up over there, having found the nicest, smoothest line through this corner. Once we've looked at where we're going, the next phase of this is to lean and roll. Leaning's best achieved by counter steering. So if you're going around a right bend, you push the right-hand handlebar away from you, and the bike will turn over or flick over into a lean. As soon as we lean, we need to roll. And by roll, I mean roll on the throttle. We need to put some power into the bike, because as soon as we lean over, the bike will start to slow because of the conical effect of the tyres. You've effectively got a smaller wheel diameter as you go into a corner. And if you didn't accelerate, the bike would actually slow down, and this would destabilise it, causing it to pitch forward onto the front wheel. So by balancing that slowing down with the throttle, we get the bike nicely balanced between the front and the back wheel, giving us maximum ground clearance and enabling us to accelerate gently through the corner.
We're right on the top of High Beach here, outside this magnificent pub, and the landlady is Mary. What's it like during the weekends here then?
It can get very busy with the bikers and the horse riders and cyclists and everything up here. It's quite quiet today, but then the weather's against us. Tends to be a bit of a summer area, but of course the bikers and people like that come out all the time.
You've got some wonderful ways of showing that bikers are welcome.
Yes, our bike helmet pictures in the windows. Unfortunately, the bikers like them too and take them with them. But we just keep printing them off and sticking them in.
Now tell me about this story when you were trying to get into your own pub.
Yes, I'd been shopping, I was laden with bags, and I went through the door and I couldn't get in because there was bike leathers everywhere. But they moved them for me and even carried the shopping in.
Oh, well, you can't say fairer than that here.
No, they were fine. Basically, it's a family pub. Not so much now, but during the summer, the grass at this time of day would have been absolutely covered with children and families. And of course, we've got a big swimming pool at the back as well, which attracts them even more.
Excellent.
And the bikers like that as well, you know, when they've been in their leathers riding up here and they go off round the back for a swim. You know, it's lovely.
So obviously get on very well with the bikers, even the big, bruisey, tough guys.
Yeah, they're the best ones. They're the soft ones. You know, they're so nice, they'll do anything for anybody. You know, they'll push people's cars when they break down, and they've even been known to clear the glasses out of the garden and that for me if we've been really busy. So, you know, we don't have a problem with bikers here at all. They're more than welcome anytime.
Steve's rolled up on a 125. Superb. It's not unfortunate at all. It doesn't matter what CC
It doesn't
bike.
matter what size you are.
Absolutely. You can still come to Bikers Meets and have a good time.
Yeah.
And
Not many here though, is there?
No. You've braved the weather though.
Yeah.
Well, I'm, very privileged
Someone's got to do
meet
it, haven't they?
Exactly. Keep the biker end up.
Yeah.
So how long have you had your bike?
That one I've had about a week and a half.
Is that the first bike you've ever had?
No, I've got another bike at home.
And what's that?
Fireblade.
That's getting very popular, isn't it?
Which I wouldn't normally take out on a day like this, but that's all right. Don't mind that getting wet and dirty.
No.
No.
I've just met John, and he's by the cabin. Everybody's by the cabin. They're getting hot cups of tea because of the weather.
Because it's freezing.
It is, isn't it?
It's horrible.
It's a bit cold and a bit muddy.
It's horrible. We're mad, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all a bit mad. Now, I've noticed your bike, the Virago, isn't it? Yeah, how long have you had that one?
Not all that. I'm born again biker. I only just got it about 3 months ago.
Really?
And 2 months ago, in fact, yeah.
Okay, so when did you start biking? Why did you stop? And when did you start again?
Well, what happens is you start biking when you're about 16, then you get older and sensible, then you stop, then you get really old and you start again. That's about it, really. I think that's about it.
So this is your second youth then?
Yes, yeah. I'm desperately trying. Now all I've got to do is get into the same jeans I used to wear then and the same jackets and things like that, and I'll be fine.
And there'll be more from a very wet Epping Forest later in the show.
Now, before the break, I said I'd bring you the man himself, Mr. D'Enzo, who in fact is Enzo Di Clementi. This is him. What's a simple way to explain your job? I mean, are you Mr. Wheeler Dealer, are you? I mean, you've got to get the sponsorship, haven't you? And
I look after, and this might sound silly, but I get the sponsorship, I look after the sponsors, I manage and look after the race team, I look after the riders at world level and the whole 22 staff which we have at world level. And then I keep an eye on basically the British team as well. I'm not as involved as much as I am with the world team, because obviously that's what I've got Ian for. But everything basically goes through in our office, because we've also got an office in England.
Yeah.
All these decisions are made by me and basically passed down to Ian and everybody else.
Well, you're looking really well, Ellie.
Tired.
Smiling.
I'm tired.
Is it too early to say for plans for next year, Ento?
We're speaking with Ducati about next year on the 748s. They're thinking of trying maybe to bring out a new model, or maybe, if you can, up the CC limit to 800. And basically, it'll all happen, Jeff, in the next sort of couple of months. But other than that, I think it'll either be World Supersport again with British Superbike, or World Superbike and British Superbike.
Yeah. So you can't get enough of this then?
Once you get embroiled, you can't get out of it. They want more and more, and you can't get away. So I'm loving it. I mean, it's a strain on the family sometimes. I've got a fantastic wife who does.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, as you know, that's why we call it Dianza. But other than that, it's a business now, Jeff. You know, like any business. I love it, it's my life, it's my passion, but at the end of the day I've got to pay riders' wages, I've got to pay mechanics' wages, and I've got to pay my bills, so it's got to be looked at as a business as well, so Diane does understand.
Well, that's just a brief insight into the Dienzo Racing Emporium. So it's not all glamour, is it? It sounds it on the outside, but there's a hell of a lot of work there. But anyway, I've got a scoot, see?
Over the past few weeks, we've brought you the roads and sights of the Outer Hebrides, including the Scottish version of Stonehenge, ancient villages, fantastic beaches, and some of the best biking roads in the UK. This week, day 4 of our trip is no different, as Peter explains.
Day 4, we have decided that we're going to have a day in Gerlach, a local day, where we're going to visit various things like aeroplanes, nice little places for lunch, beaches, and just soak up the scenery and the fun of these roads around here.
And there's a ceilidh involved?
There is a ceilidh involved, which will be later this evening.
Okay. I look forward to it, I think.
Good. Well, I think that we'll do that today, and it is more of a chill-out day.
In order to work up an appetite for lunch, Peter took us up a mountain to a most unusual sight.
On June the 13th, 1945, an American B-24 Liberator bomber smashed into these cliffs, killing instantly all 15 crew and passengers on board, and scattering parts of the plane all over this area and into the loch beyond. And now it is a truly haunting place. It's been preserved as a shrine in their memory, and people come and visit it. And it really is very atmospheric, very sombre, a very haunting place. It's incredible.
Feeling sombre, reflective, and very hungry, we took a short trip to the local pub for lunch.
Right, Peter, where are we? Tell us about the place.
Here we are in Paddock in Wester Ross. This is a lovely little place here, a lovely little fishing harbour with lots of retired people and also a lot of fishing community here.
It's got an incredible atmosphere though. I mean, while we've been sitting here having our lunch, there's all sorts of people floating in and floating out. It's really busy considering where we are.
Yes, it's busy, but it's busy within itself. These sort of places survive because they're just the way they are. The atmosphere is very laid back.
The afternoon held a short but fabulous trip through the local countryside with an early return to the hotel in order to prepare for our promised ceilidh.
It's time, I think, for another touring tip, and this time it's to do with earplugs. Jim.
The majority of people don't use earplugs because they fall out the ears. Now, the proper way to put an earplug in will demonstrate with the right plug.
Right.
If you take your left hand and put it behind your head and pull down the lobe of your right ear, then take the earplug and insert it in. Once you've inserted it in, release the earlobe and the plug stays in.
Fantastic.
Oh, there it is.
As the sun set over the bikes by the sea, our group joined the locals in their free-for-all ceilidh, drinking and dancing to traditional Scottish folk songs into the wee small hours.
And the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme flows around the blooming heather. Where you go, lassie, go.
One thing that Kaylee did a very good job of tiring us all out for a long, long sleep before embarking on the penultimate day of our tour that would take us through forests, beside lochs, and, well, I'll tell you more about that next week.
This week on Tech Talk, we're going to start the action by stopping on brakes. Do you like that? First off, a 2-pot caliper. 2 pots, 6 pots, and floating discs. What does it all mean? Well, come with me and I'll show you. So, what have we got here? Someone's already had a go at this one. It was me, hence my dirty fingers. But there we've got a brake caliper off the VFR. Just going to first principles, all the hydraulic brake is, it's a pumping system. You pump on a handle up here, the fluid flows down the brake hoses into here, and then it pushes out these pots or pistons, and here they are. And if we can get a close-up, as I actually pull the lever there, you can see that piston moving up there. That's one there, and if I held that one still, the next one moves down. Now normally, because you've got a pad in place, which is one of these here, there's your pair of pads, those 2 pistons would operate together. They've only come out separately because I've operated them without the pads in. And if you're confused, that centre one there is actually operated by the rear brake because a VFR has got linked brakes. But that's another subject. But anyway, there's a front brake caliper and the pots and how they actually work. But let's get back to basics. And here's a little caliper unit, typically off a rear brake. So just a couple of pistons on this one. But so you can see them more clearly, I've started to dismantle this one. Let's take out the pad retaining pins here, that one there, and this one here. And see that spring that's just released itself, that's an anti-squeal spring. It just stops the pads flapping about on the disc and also squealing when you squeeze the old brake on. Take these pads out. This caliper's obviously shot and there's oil all over these, so no good for rhyme or reason. But in there, you can just see the 2 pistons, opposed piston, big ones. And if you look at that, fairly rectangular pad, fairly square pad rather, I should say. Then we come onto a 4-pot, normally seen on the bike like that. You just see those 2 indentations. One piston's bigger than the other one, interestingly. There's the pistons there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's a longer pad. See, compared with that one, those are longer pads, longer and thinner. This one, here's a 6-pot one, 3 that side, 3 that side. And if you look inside, you can see the 3 pistons. Again, that would be an even longer pad. And the idea is of having a longer pad, you get more surface area in touch with the brake and the brake disc itself, and you can end up with a thinner disc. And here we've got some discs. Typically, this one would be running a sports bike one, that would be running on that disc. And so you get a long, thin pad. See it round there? So that's where that will run on there. Now, while we're on brakes, talking about discs, this one is in fact is a fully floating disc. And you can just about hear, if I tap that one, hear it rattling. These bushes here all turn, they're independent. That's because the disc material is separate to the rotor there, and it allows some floating in between the pads for some self-alignment, but also it aids distortion, or rather stops distortion, because these get very, very hot. If you come to your bread and butter ordinary bike, touring bike, they don't bother with any of this sophistication, it's just a solid disc. But just to illustrate what I mean about distortion on discs, look at this one. This has been well and truly cooked. If you can see that, it's actually dish there. Now this started life as a floating disc. I can push that out. It's more like a diaphragm spring, see that? Someone on this one has been well and truly cooking.
Alfred Lord Tennyson used to live in High Beach before he became a famous poet. So those creatives among you will no doubt be drawn back here again and again. And as Tennyson put it, returning on thy silver wheels. Now, I had to come over here and meet Lee and Joe because there was a whole crowd around the bike. Now look at this, a superb Harley Davidson. How old's this bike then, Lee?
1942.
1942. This is actually the prime Harley Davidson. This is what started everything off, isn't it?
Yep, they all copied this one, yeah. They still do today, yeah.
It's amazing. So how long have you had this bike?
1990 I bought it.
And where on earth
it was,
did you find it?
It was a chopper. It had been in the hands of the Hells Angels, and I restored it back to what it is now, you know.
How did you find the parts for this?
It's not as hard as you might think. There's a few guys in London that sell all the spares, and there's plenty of people in Holland that have got anything you need, and it's a phone call in 4 days and it's on your doorstep.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Apparently the Dutch AA used these after the war. They bought up everything that was left from the army, and they used them out there as the AA black. So there's hundreds of them out there, or thousands. Yeah.
It's superb. It must have cost you quite a lot to get it together, though.
Well, it's taken so long you don't add it all up. I wouldn't like to think. It cost £2,000 when I bought it.
Wow.
In 1990, and I suppose I've spent at least that again. But in dribs and drabs, you don't notice.
Yeah. So what's this about the dice?
Yeah, the dice is on the top of the gear changer. This bike's actually got a foot clutch and a hand gear change, so it's almost like driving a car. And the only trouble is you can never put your left foot down because they call it a suicide clutch. If you take your foot off the clutch, you're away. You've lost control.
Oh, that makes it a difficult
Well,
bike
yeah,
to
9
handle.
out of 10 people can't ride. Well, 99 out of 100 people can't ride these because of the foot clutch. It does take a while to get used to. That's the only reason why he had a little spill. Was
Now
he tried
I
to put his foot
understand.
down and it went, you know.
What sort of bikes have you got sitting at home?
BMW R1100 RS
Ooh, that's gorgeous.
and an XBR 500.
Very nice. How long have you been biking for?
1956.
Crikey. So you are an experienced man.
I'm a born again.
Right. So how long did you leave it before you...
20
got
odd
back in?
years.
Really?
Mhm.
That's a long time.
And I've been riding since 85, I
Mhm.
think. 84, 85.
So what's the oldest bike you've ever had?
A 1952 Vincent,
A Vincent! Oh, now you're talking.
20, £25 delivered on the end of a chain on the back of a lorry. Because it didn't go.
So you had to rebuild it?
No, just cleaned out there. On the Vincent there's a little jiggle wire that keeps the oil supply clear, and it wasn't there, so it just flooded with oil every time they used it. So I put new jiggle wires in and away it went.
Before the bikers came here, you got the cyclists. Before the cyclists, people rode in on horseback. High Beach has been attracting people for ages, literally. There are venues all over Britain that could be really good meeting places, with excellent facilities, refreshments, great roads, scenic views, but only a handful of those really become popular for whatever reason. And those have a certain magic, a real atmosphere, and a sense of togetherness that you really have to experience firsthand. Take good care of yourselves, and maybe I'll meet you at the meet.
On Wayne's Warehouse this week, we're going to address the thing kids. Kids on the back of the bike, well, they always want to go on the bike, go for a ride with Dad on a Sunday afternoon, don't they? The trouble is, up to recently, you couldn't get any kit for them. Well, you can nowadays. But before we talk about the gear, I want to point out the fact that safety is obviously of the utmost. Now, I love kids, just can't eat a full one. But nonetheless, if you do take your kid on the back of the bike, I reckon the best thing you could do is to sort a rack out on the back and put a top box on so they've got something to sit against. So they hold on to you via either a belt on your gear or even proper belts that are available now called pillion pals. They're only about 20 quid and they hold on to a proper handle. Then they're trapped between you and the box on the back. Complete safety, or at least within reason, that is. And it just gives you peace of mind, you know that they're obviously comfortable and safe. So, want to put a bit of kit on them? Well, the first thing is crash helmets, of course, and everybody believes you can't buy helmets for children. Not true. You may find that any kiddie above the age of 6 or 7 years old is in fact big enough to wear an adult helmet. They might need, like this, a double XS, which is only 52 centimetres, but they're only little, these things, and a kiddie's head isn't particularly small, to be honest with you. They're quite big. So don't decide just because the shop you've rang up says no, we don't do children's helmets, that you can't kit your child out with a helmet. You may find they've got a relatively big head and you need an adult helmet. The only caution I reckon you've got to take care of is you don't buy one, first of all, that they'll grow into, because that defeats the object. Get it nice and tight, a good correct fit, and make sure that the helmet sits high enough so that it doesn't sit against the collarbone. you want a bit of a gap, just for safety reasons, if for nothing else. Obviously, we've addressed the head job. If you do want one motocross style for off-road riding, fair enough, there's one to suit. But don't forget, that is absolutely no good whatsoever on the road. Buy a proper road helmet for on the road and an off-road helmet for off-road. Quite a lot of people I see wearing gloves that are motocross gloves, or possibly ski gloves, or even just soft woolly gloves to keep the hands warm. Well, gloves are needed for protection as well. You can buy very, very small fitting gloves. I found a pair here by Akito. They're only 20 quid them, they're waterproof, and they're sized extra, extra, extra small. They're obviously ladies' gloves, but a kiddie of 7 or 8 years old upwards will fit in them, no problem whatsoever. They're going to be warm, dry and protected, all for around 20 quid. Obviously you can buy motocross gear to go and play on their little kiddies' bikes, but when they progress to being a passenger on the back of you, on your road bike, you do need proper protection, and it's now available in the way of clothing. And let's just move forward a little bit and show you these things. What we've got here, which I can't get off the hanger, is a proper daddy's jacket. It's just like an adult's coat, that is, except done in kiddie sizes, right the way from extra small kiddies through to double XL, and these, would you believe, are only £60. They've got a waterproof liner on them. They've even got a complete zip out inner liner, so they're ideal for both summer and winter. In this case, this particular company, JTS, they even come with spare studs and bits and pieces so you can keep them on the road for a while. There's other companies that produce this sort of gear as well. There's Risha, for example. Akito do a full range of leatherwear. Look at that, a proper kiddie's leather jacket, just like Dad's. Amazing, isn't it? Including a pair of pants as well. So you can kit them out in the full kit. What you've obviously got to consider is the cost. It can add up. It's just as much as Dad's gear, Mum's gear. But then again, the same amount of work is involved in producing it. They even come with body armour. So buy some good kit, keep it in good order. There's always somebody in your local bike club or riders society or whatever who's got a little one. When yours grows up, they need it. Do them a good price, you'll have a few quid in the bank to buy some more gear for the kiddie. Meanwhile, I suppose I better see if the stuff fits me, because it's VAT free as well, save a few quid. So the height is not a problem, it's the midriff that is.
Welcome back to Better Bikes. Well, there it is, as you can see. It's now MOT'd, it's road taxed, we've got insurance on it, it looks beautiful, all nice and shiny. I'm going out for a nice test ride.
Hey up, mate.
What are you doing here?
Well, I just heard you mention my name. I heard you say test ride.
I did, Paul.
Well, that's my middle name, mate.
Is
You
it?
get paid to build the bikes, I get paid to ride them. I think that's a good deal, don't you?
I can't believe. You mean you want to take this out now?
I do want to take it out, but our lovely viewers there want to know all about this, how you've done it, and all the minder that you've had putting it together. It's not been that easy, has it?
It's not been too difficult, but it's not been too easy.
No, right. You tell them all about it. I'll take it for a spin, but before I do that, go and open the gates for us, mate.
I can't believe the keys are there. I can't believe I don't even get to test ride my own bike. Oh my God, what have I done? I've let Paul loose on my bike. I bet we're not going to see him for another couple of hours. Anyway, if you've been watching Better Bikes from the start, you'll know that I bought a crash-damaged Blackbird for 2,350 quid. It looked a mess, didn't it? But never mind, I knew it was going to be right at the end of the day. Also included in the price was a set of front forks, a front wheel, a right-hand footrest hanger and a rear seat panel. I must tell you at this point that I did actually hear the engine start up and have a good listen to it before the film crew arrived. Anyway, the bike was then delivered to my workshop where I stripped off all the broken and damaged parts. Once that had been done, I replaced the front forks, the front wheel and also fitted the footrest hanger. I then drew up a parts list. Once the list was complete, I spent a good few hours ringing round lots of breakers to locate the parts. Now these places are an Aladdin's cave and you'll be amazed at the variety of parts on offer. They've got absolutely everything, not to mention the prices when you compare them to new ones from a main dealer. Eventually, all the parts needed to rebuild the bike were found and collected from various places, but that top fairing, it was a nightmare. Every time a bike's dropped, whether it's on the left or the right, the top fairing always gets damaged. But Julian, good to his word, said that he would try and find me one when he went on one of these parts finding missions to France. And by Jove, the lad did me proud. He came back with a nice mint top fairing. Once the parts were all assembled in my workshop, it was then simply a case of putting the whole thing back together. Nothing too tricky, as long as you're well organised and you've got some decent tools. Nothing special though, just a good selection of sockets, spanners and screwdrivers. The best advice I could possibly give anybody in the workshop is to be methodical, take your time and keep all the nuts, bolts and fasteners in a safe place. Even separate them into different parts of the machine. Have a box for the fairing, have a box for the seat panel, etc, etc. And the most important part is always use the correct tool for the job.
He's been out a long time on my bike. I wonder where he is. Hang on a minute, that sounds like my bike. He's here. Where have you been? Look at the state of that. It was lovely and clean when I gave it you. Have you been grass tracking on it?
Bit mucky this time of year, Gaz.
Good God.
I have to say, it's very nice. I'm impressed. You've done a grand job there, mate.
Is it okay for you?
Well, when I think back to what it looked like and what it is now, sat aboard it, you'd never know it was the same machine. Terrific, but you know the important thing?
What's
You've not
that?
told anybody yet, and we want to know, these people want to know, what's it all cost you, how much is it worth now, and was it all worth it? So you tell these people all about it, and I'll go and put the kettle on.
That's a good. That's the best thing you've done all day. Look at the state of this bike. You lend it to Paul, he does a test ride, and this is the state it brings it back in. Anyway, enough of that, come up here. Right, this is what we paid for the bike, £2,350. If you go down this line, this is all the second-hand parts here, a total of £590. Add the two together, it stands me at £2,940. Now, if I'd have had to have bought the forks, the wheel and all the other free of charge bits, it would have been another £264, which would have took the total up to about £3,300. But look at the prices here. These are all the new prices from a main dealer, £5,000 plus. You know why they break them now and they just scrap them.
Expensive that, isn't it, if you buy new parts?
It is. Do you want this?
No, I don't want this. I want to get it out of the way. What I want to know now is, what's it worth this, though? If you wanted to sell this, how much, you know, ballpark figure?
I think it would be somewhere in the region of about 4.25, maybe 4.5.
Right, and you've put it back together. Oh, you spent a little bit more on it because you put fancy cans and a fancy screen,
Yeah.
but you didn't have to do that.
I didn't have to do that. 600 quid for the cans, obviously £55 for the screen, and some brake levers.
Right, but you didn't have to do that. You could have
I
put
wanted those.
Yeah, because you're a poser, I know.
I know.
You could have put it back together for less than £3,000.
Less than £3,000.
A profit of approaching 1,500 quid.
Yeah,
Not
I
bad,
would,
is it?
I
That?
would say so. Yeah.
That could be a good little business venture for somebody, couldn't it? Somebody out there might have some ideas.
Well, if you fancy doing it, give me a call. You never know.
You'd make a few bob, couldn't you?
Absolutely.
In fact, I want to ask you the big question, $64,000 question. Would you do it again?
Yes, I'd do it again.
I know. I'm really glad you said that because I've been looking at this little supermoto. Just come over here. I've got a nice little project for you lined up.
Dear.
This will keep you busy.
What am I letting myself in for?
And on Two Wheels next week, we travel all the way to Suffolk to visit the Copdock annual Classic Bike Show.